Cheerio. Hope all of you are doing well. So I've been listening to my Sarah Boone interrogation video, and I'm working on that. But I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background first. So what I'm going to tell you about now is what her ex-husband, Brian, told us about this poor little angelic woman, right? This is on a side note. No matter what you've ever done, if the police want to interrogate you, please have an attorney with you. I don't care how innocent you are. Oh my goodness. You know, I'm driving around my mail route and I'm listening to this interrogation multiple times. This is how I prepare. And there's so many times I just think, after she says something, and I think, oh goodness, sweetheart, the prosecution is going to use that against you. Oh, it's painful, painful. But, so, the, what's it called, the thumbnail? I started taking the flax oil, the liquid stuff for my hair, and my fingernails, I've taken it for years. I take it on and off. My fingernails start growing like weeds. Within 5 or 6 days, I can tell a difference. And I'll start feeling it in my hair here in a couple, I almost feel like maybe I can now. But my thumbnail is a picture of the marital home that Brian and Sarah shared. Brian ended up buying her out of that home. So Brian ain't broke. He's doing okay. He pays her $2,200 a month alimony. And as far as Brian knows, that is how she and George support themselves. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if they apply for food stamps. And you know they're getting them. Goodness. I won't get into that. But, so they haven't worked. George worked at an Ace Hardware. Worked about 15, 20 hours a week sometimes. But they're surviving off the alimony and food stamps. And I would guarantee there are more benefits out there that people can find. So Brian is explaining it's Monday morning. Sarah and George played hide and seek Sunday night. So let me know down below. When was the last time you played hide and seek with an adult? Goodness, ridiculous. But Brian says, well, Monday is her day to pick up the kid. Well, that just bothered me. Pick up the kid. You refer to your child as the kid. The kid's a donkey, right? But he says, it doesn't always happen. Maybe once or twice a week. In the interrogation, which you'll see next video, Sarah tells the police, she's explaining why she can't drink. She says, why she can't drink every night. Oh, I have things to do. I have to get up. I have to take Lucas to school. I have things to do. I have things to do. Those are her things to do. She has to get up and take Lucas to school. Well, Brian says she doesn't do that very often. Oh, on a side note, Sarah is 44 years old. There's pictures of her elsewhere where she's quite chunky, 60 pounds heavier. So she's lost quite a bit of weight. In the mugshot picture on the thumbnail, appears she's put on a little weight in prison. But that doesn't surprise me. I'm assuming you're not getting a great balanced diet while you're in jail. So, first time, Monday morning, Brian calls Sarah. He calls her at 10:39. It's her day to pick up Lucas. Lucas. I don't care for that name. If you have a child or a husband named Lucas, I apologize. It's not my thing. I just don't care for it. Oh, and it's spelled with a K. I found that odd he said that. Anyway, but he always calls twice because she's usually sleeping. So 10:39, his first phone call. At 12:49 is the first time she picks up. He says he called her 6 times in between that. Well, she answers the phone. Why? Because she has found George dead. Oh, my goodness. On that phone call right there, Brian says, Sarah, you need to call police. Well, they hang up. Oh, she tells Brian to come over. They hang up. Well, at 12:54, she calls Brian back and says, where are you? Why aren't you here? Well, apparently they live just 2 minutes away from each other. Well, at 12:49, he told you to call police. It's 12:54, you're calling him back. Why the heck have you not called police yet? Because she's freaked out and panicked, and she has no idea what's going on. Brian gets to the house. She still hasn't called police. What the hell? Brian makes a comment of saying as soon as she walked in the door, the first thing she said to him was she was complaining about cottonmouth. She had cottonmouth. Well, anxiety and stress, massive cause of cottonmouth. But you know what else is a cause of cottonmouth? A hangover. Because your body is depleted of water. So she's got two massive causes. Apparently, at one of the body cams, which I may end up showing you, she keeps saying that. She's like, "Can I just get my Dr. Pepper? Please, please." Well, she ends up drinking out of a neighbor's hose out of their front. So Brian says that Sarah gets very violent when she drinks. And he made a point of saying, well, when we would drink together, I didn't drink as much. And so she would hit me and stuff, and I had enough self-control and wherewithal to back up or get away from her. Unlike Amber Heard, who beats her man up, and then when he leaves, she goes and poo-poos on the bed. Can you even imagine that defecating on a bed is something that's going to be associated with you for the rest of your life? I mean, for real. That girl she's a narcissist, so she's probably not even fazed. Anyway, so Sarah's drinking problems got very bad once she had Lucas with a K. And that was 9 years prior. She suddenly became a stay-at-home mom. You know what happened? She had nothing to do. She was bored with this little child. She could have entertained herself by joining play groups, and there's all kinds of stuff that you do when you have a little baby if you're out by yourself. That's how you make friends, because you meet other people who have little babies. I still have friends now that I met 20 years ago because my child was a baby. Goodness. So she started going to the bars. She'd get home at 3 a.m. Didn't take much of that for Brian to get sick of it. And they got divorced. So I already told you, he bought her out of that house. They're living on the alimony. But she probably got a decent-sized check from that divorce. I'm going to say she walked away with probably $75,000. I did look up a little of the mortgage records. Brian says that Sarah claimed that once she became a stay-at-home mom, she felt trapped. I know someone else that's a situation like that. Anyway. This is my opinion. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm a trained financial person. Oh, and I'm a mailman. I think part of the reason that Sarah would get angry when she was drunk was because her own self-conscious would start beating herself up, knowing she could do better than this. Yeah, but here it's, whatever, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and she's wasted, or it's 9 in the morning, or even if it's 9 o'clock at night, but it's still just every single night. Well, your conscience gets to you, and that's just how she got angry at other people because she hated herself. So I looked up George's arrest records. I think that some of them are gone, but I found some of them. I found the domestic violence. I found multiple violations. And he just kept getting arrested for violations. But I did see he was arrested 6 times. He one time he was chasing her, and he took a steak knife and he stuck it in the back of her calf. Well, he was in jail that time for 36 days. Well, Brian happened to mention that during those 36 days, Sarah didn't miss a single appointment with Lucas. They have shared custody. She showed up all the time. She did everything she was supposed to do. But then George was finally released, and Sarah started drinking again. On a side note, the infection from that leg wound almost cost Sarah her leg. It could have been amputated. The infection got that bad. And yet, she wants him there and she's bailing him out. This is a little girl whose self-esteem has just gotten down to nothing because she's an alcoholic. So she has found someone who has more problems than she does, and she's better than. And she can say, well, look, I'm better than this guy, and I'm helping this guy. And I think that was part of the attraction to George, was that she was better than him. And he wasn't that great. Please, rest in peace, George. I hope the Lord treats you well. But still, I mean, you're beating her up, and she's beating you up. Not good. Multiple different police interviews, they said they saw Sarah with black eyes, and she had been beaten. And George beat her up. And George was not that much of a looker. He's probably $150 soaking wet, but look at him, he's all gone. He's not my type. It's a good thing. Sarah was beating Brian up towards the end of their marriage as well. Sarah's drink of choice is vodka. Well, they were drinking wine that day, but I looked it up, and it does appear you could buy vodka in Orange County, Florida on Sundays, but for whatever reason, they chose vodka. The police asked Brian, so does Lucas with a K, does he have any stories when he gets back from there? Brian's like, no, he doesn't really like to be here. He definitely doesn't want to spend the night. So when Sarah would have visitation, she would just drive down to the street to the former family home and visit there. That night, she's got him in the suitcase. We know he's in the suitcase at 11:31, and then he was in 11 minutes or 12 minutes prior. But 11:46, Sarah called Brian. Brian does not really remember what she said. He said he's so used to her calling late at night drunk that he kind of always would just tune her out and do everything he could to get her off the phone. He heard no yelling or anything. Well, of course he didn't hear any yelling, because George is in the suitcase, can't breathe. And I'm sorry, I laughed. I didn't. That's just terrible of me. Okay, so I'm working on the interrogation. I really do hope to have that out maybe tomorrow. I mean, that's kind of my focus. I'm off this weekend. I was supposed to go play golf with Leanne, but I messed up the entire dates. It's actually the next weekend. So, if you're still watching right now, I'm totally shocked. And how about that chick, Ann Hesh or something? Dead. Doing coke, drinking vodka, driving 90 miles an hour. Not a very good combination. Okay, if you're still watching, hit like, hit subscribe. You know it really helps the algorithm. Thank you all, and God bless our America.